What's going on, everybody? I'm Cade Morehouse with Cage Side Press, and today I'm joined by UFC Pride veteran Mark Hunt. Mark, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, bro? Thanks for having the podcast. How
Yeah,
you
no,
doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Great, man. Viva Las Vegas, baby.
Oh man. Well, Mark, how's life outside of fighting, man? I mean, it's definitely been a while, but what have you been up to?
Yeah, man. Just chilling with the fam, same old, just living life, bro. Just the usual. Um, just the usual, brother.
Yeah, Mark, I don't know if there's much that you can say on it, but we'll just get straight into it and then we'll go from there. But you had like a lawsuit going with the UFC. I don't think it's going anymore. I'm not really sure. Are you still fighting it or trying to do something about it?
Yeah, I've still got an active lawsuit against them. It's the same lawsuit I filed nearly a decade ago. Um, it was thrown out the first time. Um, well, the only time it's been thrown is because I had some crooked lawyers. My first set of lawyers were crooked. They were paid off probably by Dana and his cohorts. And that lady, Christina Denning, sabotaged my case. And they had a summary judgment and threw the whole thing out. There was no evidence provided because she wouldn't provide any evidence. So she's the criminal. And because of her malpractice, it went nowhere. And about over a year ago, I filed an appeal. It was approved in 2 days, and with I was made pro se as a litigant. It's hard to explain a civil RICO lawsuit in 20 minutes or 30 minutes, to be honest. So, what I can tell you is that it's where it sits now is we're just waiting for the judge's orders. Um, if you're familiar with RICO, they've got a lot of issues. Dana White, he'll be going to jail with the rest of these criminals as part of this RICO contravention. So, yeah, there's a like I said, it's kind of hard to explain a civil RICO case within 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, I guess my final question about it is you fought since that Brock Lesnar fight. I believe you had what, four more fights after that. I mean, when did this all kind of come about and when did it kind of hit you like? Yeah, I guess that's my question. Like, when did it come all about, like, to do the lawsuit, and when did you finally have a problem with everything?
Well, I've always, as I've gone in my career, I've always, I've fought against juices it always ruined the fight, whether it was a good fight, a win or a loss. It was always not good for my record. Um, wasn't good for my health also. It became a no contest whether I won the fight or lost the fight. I've always said to those that are in charge, can you do something about it? The couple of times before that Brock Lesnar incident, there was a fight. Alistair, a few other guys. I did say to them, "Can you do something about it?" The Bigfoot fight, the first fight we had, I broke my hand and got 16 screws in my left hand. Even the fight before that, the Frank Mir fight, I said, he popped. I said, "Can you do something about it, Dana?" He said, "No, it's up to USADA." Um, you know, Bigfoot Silver. Again, I said, "Can you do something about the fight? Can you do something about this guy? I don't give a shit about his money. Just don't give him any money. I mean, I don't want to get any money." Um, but he just said it's up to USADA what's done about it. But as I go on with my lawsuit and find the discovery, USADA's part of their pocket. They're all in cahoots, the whole lot of them. The LA Commission, USADA, Jeff Novinsky, Dana White, et al. All of them are colluding against me. They've been colluding together for nearly over a decade. And that's the sad thing about it, because not one of them has come to me after all this time and said, "I'm sorry for what has happened. I'm sorry for being a criminal and putting you in this situation." So this is the way, and it came about, like I said, if they're not going to do something about it, I will. Despite the millions of people laughing and mocking me and saying to me, "Oh, no, you can't do that. They're $1 billion company." I don't give a shit if you're $1 billion company. When you're doing the wrong thing, you're doing the wrong thing. Your $1 billion company can be ended in an instant with a criminal civil RICO, with a RICO lawsuit. And that's the problem with these days. People just they're just too scared, man, to speak the truth. They're too scared to speak against these people that are doing the wrong things. And I'm still doing it. Like I said, it's been nearly a decade now, and despite the false narrative that's been put on my name and what I'm trying to stand for, end of the day, these people that run the UFC, like Dana White, for instance, he's going to jail for sure, without a doubt. Jeff Novinsky's going to be joining him, and I'll be suing everyone else that was involved in this. USADA, the LA Commission, everybody's going to get it. You're not getting away with nothing. This is why there's a system called law in place. You didn't want to if you didn't want to have unlawfulness, you go some other fucking 10 world, not third, fourth, fifth world country. You don't live in a first world country and not have laws and not enforce those laws and policies. So I mean, the same thing with UFC. Why have laws and rules and policies when you don't enforce them yourself? And that's why I came about that. I was after that Brock Lesnar fight. I just had enough, and it was they gave that guy an exemption with that UFC 200. It's like, why did you give the guy an exemption?
Yeah, I mean, like, so I don't know your relationship with Dana before all of this or during your time with the UFC, but what you're saying is that before you took action with the lawsuit, you tried multiple steps to before it got to this point.
Yes. Like I said, I fought my whole career against dopers and cheaters. And I got to a point in my life where I was then out, my age, I was like one of the oldest fighters in the UFC. And sick of dealing with these shortcut takers, these guys that just can't cut it with the best fighters in the world. All they do is cheat and use steroids. So I mean, what's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of having laws and a company called USADA and a contract that you don't enforce, that you don't have and say, oh, I said that multiple times in the Murray fight, in the Bigfoot fight. I said to Dan, I said, can you do something about it? Even in their own contracts, the UFC contracts, they say we have the right to take the finances off them if they are caught doping. And even when they caught Lesnar doping, we asked Dana White to take his money off him. He wouldn't do it. The only thing they sent to me was letters from the lawyers saying we fulfilled our obligations to Mr. Lesnar. So what he was telling me there was, get the fuck out of here. And what he was telling me is, I'm just as crooked as this motherfucker.
When you look back at the Brock Lesnar fight, could you just at any point in the fight, did you kind of feel like he was on steroids, or what point could you tell besides just looking at him that this guy is not normal?
Well, despite you saying that, just by looking at him, like the whole world used to say to me, just by looking at him, we knew he's on the juice. Well, that's kind of stupid, to be honest. I mean, I could look at anyone and say, well, I could look at someone and say, you're fucking stupid. How do I know you're stupid? Because I looked at you. No, I'm wrong. I need to have some factual proof and evidence. I can't just look at Brock Lesnar, despite him being a massive human being, one of the biggest I've ever seen, with a 6'3" frame. I'm like, how does this guy make the 120 kilo weight limit? Because muscle's heavier than fat. But I can't look at someone and say, just by looking at him and say, I don't know if he's on steroids or not, because the fact is, you've actually got to have actual proof and have blood from this person to have proof of it. During the fight, he was super strong. I mean, I'm pretty a strong person myself, and I fought some big human beings, but I've never not equaled them in strength. But Lesnar was on a different level. He was just pulling me around like a little kid. You know what I mean? So his strength was not normal. He couldn't hit for crap, but his strength was not the same as mine. He was far stronger than I was. Far stronger.
Felt it in the exchanges of the wrestling mainly.
Well, yeah, because despite him being a whatever wrestling champion, the thing is, I'm pretty strong on I can match it with all the big guys, strength for strength, but not in that instance. He was just too strong for me. So
stepping away from all that stuff, let's talk about some good things. Like when you look back at your career with the UFC, Pride, and all the organizations that you've been, I mean, you're a veteran of the sport, but when you look back at your career, I mean, what can you be most proud of?
I mean, I love competing MMA. It was a newfound passion. I started as a kick fighter, and I became the best fighter in the world in my first go at it. I was a prize fighter at 27. I never wanted to be a fighter. I feel God had His place for me to be a top end fighter, to push these, to help me with my life, to be honest. And I enjoyed my time as a prize fighter, as a kick fighter. I enjoyed my time as as an MMA fighter. I really enjoyed my time being a part of UFC, until I realized, until I realized they didn't give a shit about no fighters. They only cared about lining their own pockets. They didn't give a crap about the well-being of a fighter. They cared only about money.
Well, like, I want to ask you this, like, in today's era, like, you've been around so long, so I don't know how monitored it was back in the day with you sort of like dating back to Pride, but then you got today. Do you think today is still just as juiced as back in the day, or do you think back then it was like way worse?
Well, back then there was no companies parading around as like they're actually doing something about it. There was no companies going around like USADA or Jeff Davinsky or people like this going around saying, "Oh, we're your testing company. We make this legit." No, you don't. There was no one around there, and in their contracts they said they didn't give a crap about fighting the steroid use. When I was part of it, I was like I said, my first questions was, what do you guys do about steroids in this company? They all just started fucking laughing at me. Yeah, this is in Pride. And this was at a table full of executives, looking at me like I was some sort of fucking crazy guy, like talking about steroids, like what but end of the day, I said what it is. And at the end of the day, they asked me, Mark, we don't give a fuck about whatever it is. I didn't actually read the fiber, but all they asked me was, do you want to fight? The reason I stood up against in the UFC was they said to me, we've got the best testing policies in the globe, in the world. We've got USADA. We've got a guy named Just Davinsky that caught Lance Armstrong. Okay, motherfuckers. Great, cool. But as I found out through discovery, that USADA was in their pocket. They were all colluding against me. The whole lot of them. I can't fucking believe it. It's fucking ridiculous, and this shit's evident. Huh. And that's one of the reasons why I feel USADA left when they broke up with UFC, is because they try to push Conor McGregor through, and that fucking USADA idiot says, "Oh, no, we can't do that again." Oh, why? Is it because you've got a fucking lawsuit against you? Is that why, motherfucker? That's right. It's because you've got a fucking lawsuit that's gonna break your ass right here and now, and UFC want to put through another guy and give them another exemption? That ain't happening, man. Not at all. That's why I feel USADA left. But it doesn't matter whether you bit a little bit of the pie or all of the pie. You still bit it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I wanted to also talk to you about this too, though. I think you've mentioned this before, but you've talked about fixed fighting, like, or something with you getting asked to throw a fight. But with all the gambling and stuff that's involved in the sport now, and all the
Yeah.
certain things, and this is the most bet on sport, maybe, or one of the most bet on sports now, popular to bet on. Maybe at all. Like, it's probably the most popular now. But do you think that fixed fighting and throwing fights is like something that happens, or is it something that you just think happens? Like, or have you seen something?
Well, I mean, for my instance, when I was like, the only time I was ever offered money to throw a fight was in Australia in a boxing fight. I was offered $3 million, but I could have done with the money. I was broke. I was going through a separation. I could have done with $3 million, but that's just not my character. I'm just not that kind of person, to be honest. To take a dive, I'd rather go out at my shield fighting. At least I know in my heart, when I look at myself in the mirror, I've given everything. I haven't taken a dive for stupid money. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I have no idea. And all I'm doing, like I said, with this lawsuit, with sports, I do feel it's a black eye on sports, especially with steroid users that they, because that's pretty much like when you take steroids, unless that's pretty much like you're fixing the fight yourself. You know, that's what I think is not a good look, to be honest. And at the end of the day, I mean, to be honest, when you're taking steroids, you should be put in jail, because when you're doing that, it's premeditated murder. I feel, because if you kill me or kill someone you're fighting against, you knew 3 months ahead of that fight you were going to fight this guy. And what's even worse in my situation is the executives knew. Dana White knew, USADA knew, Jetaminsky knew. They all knew this. They all worked together to allow this fucking piece of crap. I shouldn't call him this guy, this other fighter, to get it over me. They all colluded together to allow this fight to happen, because John Jones got pulled off the DC fight. And why? Because that cunt was doping too. Go figure. How does that fucking work? They pull off one doper and leave another doper on the card. Is it just because they were selling their company?
Do you, with everything that's happened though, do you ever plan on fighting ever again in any capacity? Like, I mean, there's so many avenues, right?
Bro, I am 50 years old. I mean, I could have, my passion for this got taken away a long time ago when those guys cheated me. They absolutely cheated me and said, there's no fucking point in fighting here, Mark, because we're just going to cheat you out of your position. Just like that fuckwit Lance Armstrong cheated all those other people out of a position. He cheated all those families, those other bike riders and the other families. But then people say, well, nearly the whole lot of them were cheating. Well, then the guy that wasn't cheating should have been up the top. And his family should have got the revenue and the rewards from being one of the best fucking bike rider in the globe. It's the same with fighting, but fighting, you could kill people. People say to me, oh, Mark, no one's died yet. Well, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. Because what would happen if you'd actually killed someone and you were on steroids? Should your punk ass be in jail? Yes. Why the fuck should you be walking around when you've just killed someone knowing to take steroids? Anyway. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. I mean, let's get away from steroids for a second. Like, when you look at today's set of fighters and how far MMA's come, like, how far do you think MMA has come in terms of skill sets compared to maybe what was back in the day with all the great fighters that you might have ran into?
I feel everyone these days are mixed martial artists. They're not just a kickboxer learning ground or wrestling. Everyone's a mixed martial artist from the top to bottom. I love the sport of mixed martial arts. It's the hardest sport in the globe, and the best fighter in the world is the mixed martial artist. It's not a boxer. But the thing about that is well then if the best fighter in the world is the mixed martial art, why doesn't the financial gains transfer over to that? Why do they not pay these fighters the best, better money? You've got this antitrust lawsuit by Rob Macy and that. And the sad thing about it, those guys are just as much as criminals as UFC. They say to all of us, oh, we want to make change, we want to bring the Ali Act into MMA, we want to give those old fighters a better quality of life, more financial, instead of 14%, 50% at least, But at the end of the day, when the money came across the table, they grabbed the money and run. They try to run, but the judge Bolloway goes, no, motherfucker, you ain't taking off. I ain't gonna approve that shit. Why? Because you guys, I can see right through you guys. You guys are a bunch of crooks. 120 million for the lawyers? What the fuck does filing a fax cost 10,000 each time you do it? It's people these days, they need to realize the way I see it is they have to financial gain and money and everything. I understand money is important in this life, but it doesn't belong to you. Nothing you have here, it belongs to you. In 100 years, 50 years, you're dead. Even tomorrow, you could be gone. And nothing you have or earn is yours. That is the way I see the life and the way I see things, And all these motherfuckers that say, oh, you just want it for money. No, motherfucker. I did this to make change. You know, and the only way to hurt these motherfuckers is by taking their money and changing the set of laws or rules by that they don't even abide by. They make a set of laws and rules, and they go around them themselves. And that's the harsh reality of mixed martial artists these days. That's why it's hard. When you talk about mixed martial artists, fighters in the UFC, I'm thinking, I'm just laughing at it. I shouldn't say that. I'm laughing at it because I was one of them. You know, and it hurts me seeing these fighters, man, and you know, knowing how hard it is to be a top end prize fighter, having to deal with steroids, dealing with all these fucking things, you know, arguing with Dana White for fucking more money all the time, you know, and it shouldn't be like that. There should be, I'm the best fucking fighter in the world. If everyone's paying $75, I want $35. I want $30 of that. Every fucking person that pays for pay-per-view. When I'm the world champion, every fucking time. Without even asking for Dana White. You know what I
mean? I mean, you brought up earlier, you brought up Conor, right? Like with the whole thing with Conor. I mean, do you think Conor has been juiced, or do you think he was using it, you know, to maybe recover, to come back from his injury? Because
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think or what, you know, or what I'm not. I don't know. I can't be sitting here assuming anything.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and say this and that and this. What I can say is, on my assumption is that USADA left because they try to push him back through, and that wasn't going to happen because they're already in a whole lot of trouble. Right now, they're looking at a Rico monster that's going to close them down. And same thing with this UFC. I mean, it's not going to close them down because they've changed. There's new owners, and the new owners are like, they're just going to point the finger at Dana White because Dana White's the president of their company. The problem is he's the one that's doing all the criminal shit. So you know what? Guess what? We own the company, but you motherfucker going to jail. Because once they found out what he was doing was bullshitting and lying to everyone, guess what? You know, people sit there. I mean, saying this for a while now, and everyone's been laughing at me, saying like I'm crazy. Yeah, you don't have no kids, man. You don't have these guys. People have no clue, and the ones that are in the trouble, they're sitting there looking over their shoulder because they understand and know time's not on their side. It's just ticking away, going, yeah, you could be over here doing all these things, but when they come knocking on your door, you're going to jail, motherfucker.
Stepping aside from that, I want to ask you, you know, a couple more questions before I let you get out of here. But you've been around the game a long time. What's your favorite fight of all time?
Exactly the fight I just won. You know, the fight against Dana White and et al. And his criminal friends. That's the best fight I've ever won in my whole entire life, and that's the only fight that ever mattered, to be honest. Is changing, not just, well, look when I say this, I didn't just change combat sport. I changed all contact sport, not just combat sport, all contact sport.
When you look at all the fighters and like you said, you kind of lost passion for it. So I don't know how much you keep up with it today, but like when you look at all the great fighters from today, do you have anybody that you like watching, or is it kind of just like the passion is really just gone? Like I don't even watch it.
I don't think I said I lost the passion for it. What I said was they took the passion from me. They stole the passion from me when they allowed these guys to cheat. They took that away from me, my love for fighting. I don't really watch. I actually like watching the boxing at the moment, but what's happening. I don't really. It's hard to follow MMA, especially when you know what's going on. It's hard to follow that and support that. And you know, I said, oh man, there's no way. Why should I? You know, the world champion's a fucking steroid user. You know what I mean? They've got him in some stupid Hall of Fame with a bunch of other steroid users. What the fuck is that? So let's have a Hall of Fame and let's put them all in and let's all call it the best steroid users in the world. Man, they shouldn't be. None of those cheaters, these shortcut takers, should be in any way, shape, or form anywhere near these sort of halls of fame. It just goes to show the credibility of the UFC if they continue to do that. This is rubbish. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get you. I want to ask you, like, with USADA not even being obviously USADA had a part to play in what you're talking about with Dana, but like now that they're gone from the company, do you think it's worse?
Well, they've got some fucking yo-yo fucking bozo clown running around pretending like he's making everything legit. And we know, his name's Jeff Davinsky, and he was part of this RICO also. That little rat's getting sued too. That bozo is going around saying, "Oh, we'll give everyone a 50 jacket and says you'll clean after 50 tests." Now, why the fuck are you giving jackets out? You know, jackets that cost money for a fucking guy that's supposed to be clean anyway. I mean, why are you giving a jacket that we're gonna give you a jacket because you've tested clean 50 times? Did you do the same thing when that happened to me, motherfucker? Did they do the same thing to me? No, because they are this bozo is going around saying, because you've done 50 clean tests, we'll give you a jacket. But when it came to my account, they said, "Oh, nah, we'll push it through, and this is how we'll deal with it. We'll lie to all the fucking people. We'll lie to this motherfucker, and we'll continue this collusion and this fucking lying to Mr. Hunt for nearly fucking a decade. But yeah, we'll give these other cocksuckers a jacket for 50 clean tests." What does that tell you?
Honestly, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Bro, bro, it just gets crazy every time I talk about it. Even if I told you, and I put a lot of my court filings onto Twitter, on X, and showed people. And the funny thing is, even like I said, even if I told you or showed you this shit, you wouldn't believe it.
Well, Mark, when you just to wrap up the interview, I want to ask you, like, when do you expect this to be concluded? I mean, it's been years now, but when do you
It
date
hasn't
or a
been years.
year?
It's been nearly over 8 years that my first law firm got paid off. They got bribed to sabotage my case. It's taken about a year to bring it back to where it is now. And it could be tomorrow the court could give the orders. It could be the next day. It could be any day now the court, the judges, because it's in the Ninth Circuit, they could give the orders any day now. People keep asking me. I don't know. I can't tell to the judges to make the orders, even though I've given this case to them wrapped in a fucking silver bow. They've got to do other stuff, maybe extrinsic stuff. I don't know what they've got to do to make things right. Because when you're changing people's lives, when you're putting them in jail, when you're changing a lot of like this lawsuit is going to change, like I told you, contact sport, not just combat sport, contact sport also. People, it's a big deal. The media don't want to give it a rap, but they know it's here. They know it's about to blow these fuckers out of the water, and then you'll see about the media talking about it. I'm just telling you what I'm allowed to tell you already now. So I mean, a lot of the stuff has been unsealed on PESA, and I'm sick of sitting here explaining myself about it. I mean, at the end of the day, people say it's the money. It's not. It's they've broken the law. Your American laws, they've fucking broken them. And what have they done? They've continued this collusion, coercion, civil conspiracy, aiding and abetting, fraud, battery, all this shit for nearly 10 years. I mean, of course you sit here listening to me being frustrated about it because it angers me that these people that are not smart enough to say, and the narrative they put on Mark Hunt is, oh, he's got CTE, he's been punched in the head too many times. Bro, I'm a pro se litigant, and I just busted their 500 an hour lawyers in the ass. Ask Colby Williams, that motherfucker, no? That's the way he threw all those cocksuckers under the table, under the bus, and he tried to seal it, and then he ran for the hills.
Mark, I want to tell you, man, I really appreciate your time today. I really do. I appreciated your career. Appreciate you as an athlete and a fighter. Enjoyed watching you, man. Is there anything?
Thanks, man. Look, sorry for coming off like the way it is, but what I'm saying is this is frustration over the years that's happened. That's why I speak like this. I'm just angry at this is the way things have gone, especially, and I'm just waiting for justice to just change to fix these things. That's all I'm waiting for. So if I sound upset, I am. If I sound frustrated, I fucking totally am frustrated. And like I said, it won't take long for justice to do what it's supposed to do. But thanks for the time, and we'll yeah.
No, I really appreciate it, man. Is there any shout outs or anything you want to give before we hop out of here?
Yeah, shout out to you for putting me in your show, man. Thanks a lot for the time.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your time, man. Mark Hunt, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, man.